Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where Bond is currently for sale. Well, actually, just one movie is up for grabs because MGM and Eon Productions, the production company controlled by the Broccoli family, which has controlled the Bond movies since the beginning, only wants to sample what it's like to have a Bond movie at another studio as they see what life is like after Sony, where the Bond franchise has been set up, I believe, since 2006, so quite some time. And Sony doesn't want Bond to leave. In fact, the New York Times wrote an interesting article about this yesterday that one of you sent to me, and part of the article was that it was revealed that in their pitch to MGM and Eon Productions, Sony actually went to the great lengths of recreating a set from Dr. No on a soundstage for the pitch to take place. That's like old Hollywood stories, right? And Kazu Hirai, the president and CEO of Sony overall, flew in to headline the pitch. So that's how important this is to Sony. And of course it is, because Sony's not doing so well these days. Sony is the second to last behind Paramount when it comes to box office performance in 2016, and they're having quite the shakeup over there, as is Paramount. Paramount just fired Brad Grey from running. It's interesting, Brad Grey, of course, started out as a manager. Brillstein Grey, he managed Jennifer Aniston, and Brad Pitt started Plan B with them, a production company. Plan B, of course, still very successful today. Brad Pitt got it in the divorce. And then Brad Grey left Plan B to head Paramount, and that came to a horrible end, unfortunately. But anyway, Sony is hoping that their relationship with Bond does not come to an end. And a number of people are speculating, why does any other studio want Bond, considering how cheap a deal it is? And what that means is that the way the deal is structured, because it's Bond and MGM and Eon it's such a strong negotiating position for them that they keep the lion's share, literally with MGM, right, of the money. That's their logo, for those of you who don't get the joke. But anyway, they're able to keep the majority of the money, even though Sony is required to cover half of the budget for the film and also pay for the advertising. And then they get like just a fraction of the profits. But Hollywood is saying, oh, well, everybody wants it for bragging rights. Who doesn't want to be the home of Bond? I don't totally buy that. Well, except for Annapurna Pictures, which is, I can't believe Megan Ellison's tiny little Annapurna Pictures, which is distributing just its first movie, Detroit, coming up, and so far not so good, is in contention for this, although Megan Ellison is an Ellison. Her father, of course, owns Oracle, and they're kind of like Bond villain rich. So I guess, and also she just signed a distribution deal with MGM, so she's got an in at MGM. But for everybody else, particularly, well, these are the studios that are interested: Warner Brothers, Universal, and Fox. But for Warner Brothers and Universal in particular can offer a theme park contingent to the deal, right? And if I were Barbara Broccoli, who I have newfound respect for, we'll discuss that in a moment, I would be all over a Bond theme park ride, right? So both Warner Brothers and Universal, who interestingly work together in the theme park business, could provide that. And that would be something I would be very interested in. Although with only one film, I guess they'd have to see how it does and then re-up. But I wouldn't sign a contract. I guess I would. I mean, again, their negotiating position is insane. But I would be like, okay, I'll sign for one film, but if it makes $1 billion, for instance, you have to automatically, the contract would renew for another movie. Because I put you in the $1 billion club again, which Sony has only been able to do once. Sony did a nice job, but, and also the writer's strike really derailed Daniel Craig's Bond. We talked about the writer's strike yesterday and how a new one is on the horizon. Daniel Craig is like, no, not again. Write it now. Write the new Bond. Oh, they are writing it now, so hopefully it'll be done by May 1st, if that strike does take place. But I think that not only would a theme park contingent for Bond be fabulous for the franchise, but also maybe a TV spinoff. Give it the modern day franchise treatment, right? A side character, some really prestige television show on a highly respected cable network, right? FX maybe, HBO, Netflix, just something that Bond is more of people's everyday discussion, right? And it should be. It's Bond, for Pete's sake. So I think that's actually not such a bad idea. Maybe a show focusing on Moneypenny. I don't know. I would be very interested in it. Or maybe Q. What goes on at Q when Bond's not there? That sounds pretty good. I don't think that Ben Whishaw would be willing to do that because he has his movie career is not huge. Maybe he would be willing to do it. That sounds pretty good to me. So hopefully, I'd be like, nice Dr. No set, Sony, but I can give you a theme park ride who wouldn't want to ride a Bond theme park ride, right? Just the idea of it makes me so happy. And a TV show. I mean, that's a better pitch, in my opinion. And maybe that's what MGM and Eon are looking for. And Daniel Craig is in the mix. As we discussed a couple of weeks ago, Barbara Broccoli brilliantly got him that artistic respectability he'd been looking for by producing his Othello with David Oyelowo off Broadway. So now Daniel Craig is happy again, and he's willing to return for maybe one or even two Bonds if they're shot back to back. He would also be paid a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, he's not just doing it because he and Barbara Broccoli are in a good place now, right? That's part of it, but he still needs to get the cash. Also, word is he has room in his schedule, so this is something that could still potentially be done. A deal should probably be closed pretty soon, though, not only because of that looming writer's strike, but because you don't want that hole in Daniel Craig's schedule to fill. Although he's not really in demand outside of Bond, right? I mean, he just got fired from the new Girl with a Dragon Tattoo movie. I think that, that Bond helps Daniel Craig as much as Daniel Craig helps Bond. So I'm curious, do you want to see Bond move to a different studio? I can't imagine any of you are like, no, it belongs at Sony. But what do you think of the pitches that people are making? Do you think Annapurna has a chance? I think no. It would be ridiculous to go to Annapurna. I mean, she could offer them like really highbrow talent, but sometimes highbrow talent messes up Bond movies. I mean, with all due respect to Sam Mendes, the best new Bond is still Casino Royale, directed by longtime Bond director Martin Campbell, who is not an A-lister director. He should be. He's really good, strong. I mean, he knows how to make a Bond movie. I think it should be F. Gary Gray, as I've said before, who just did a fabulous job with The Fate of the Furious. So they should start. So I think, I don't think Annapurna wants to hire F. Gary Gray, which is, one of the reasons that Annapurna Pictures don't make a lot of money. So anyway, I think this is really interesting, and I'm curious to see what the new era of Bond looks like. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, speaking of Daniel Craig, one of the things he's most famous for recently doing, outside of Bond and complaining about Bond, is he had a small cameo in Star Wars The Force Awakens as the Stormtrooper that hooks Daisy Ridley up to that contraption so Kylo Ren can talk to her, and she uses the mind trick on him to get him to let her go. And, it's impossible, obviously, to tell that's Daniel Craig because he's covered head to toe in Stormtrooper gear, but when you know it's Daniel Craig, you can hear it in the voice, which is hilarious. So I actually like that cameo, because there's no ego in it, because you can't see Daniel Craig's face. It's just like a fun, sly wink at the fans and for Daniel Craig. But anyway, it seems that this is going to become a Star Wars tradition, as a rumor has surfaced that two more British cameos are set for the Last Jedi, and that's Prince William and Prince Harry, who of course famously visited the set of the film a couple of months ago, and it was photographed to the high heavens because, they're paparazzi catnip, the British royal family. But John Boyega now has let it slip, seemingly, that they do indeed have a cameo in the film. And I think that it's going to be, this is the rumor, so it's Stormtroopers as well. I guess that's the easiest thing to don, right? I mean, you could put people under a lot of makeup, too. That would be fun. And, Simon Pegg, I don't think this was successful. He played Unkar Plutt, the Jakku junkyard dealer in The Force Awakens. And you can't see any Simon Pegg or hear any Simon Pegg there at all. That's really just for Simon Pegg, or as a fun trivia question, right? That you really have to know your stuff to know that. You'd have to just know the behind-the-scenes stories. Because again, I mean, unless you look in the credits, obviously, there's no way to surmise that from just watching the movie. But anyway, so I think that's an unsuccessful cameo. And also, there's no way you're going to get... Oh, you saw the photos of Simon Pegg on set in that suit. There's no way William and Harry are going to do that, right? I mean, they looked very nice when they showed up for their set visit. So you put them in Stormtrooper outfits, and the rumor is that Rey and Finn infiltrate some base. That's not a spoiler. They do that like in every Star Wars movie. And they're in an elevator with Benicio del Toro's character, who has not been revealed, but now you know what to look for and see if it's William and Harry. And they're in an elevator, or I liked it because it was the British rumor, so they said they're in the lift. Hilarious. And so they're like, Stormtroopers enter, and two of them are William and Harry. And I wonder if they have any dialogue. That could be kind of fun. I'm not sure how I feel about these all being UK cameos, though. I mean, I know the Star Wars movies famously shoot in the UK. Awesome. I'm glad you guys have that. But it's an American franchise. So can we get some Americans in here? And also from any other country, right? Why is it just the UK? I mean, I guess they're filming there, so everyone's just right there. But the UK is a hub of many industries. Lots of different people from all over the world are in the UK, are in London all the time. So and can easily get to London to be in a Star Wars movie. And also they give this away now sometimes for fans too, right? Which I think is nice as well. I think that's really nice. But we don't want this to become distracting. You don't want to watch a Star Wars movie and be looking at a scene and be like, I wonder who that Stormtrooper is. Do you think that Stormtrooper is anyone famous? And they're like, pay attention to the story, damn it. I mean, I guess people see Star Wars movies so many times, it would be like maybe on the second or third time you can start wondering about that. But I don't think they should overdo it with the cameos, especially because they're sticking the directors in there too. They're everywhere. Oh, it's crazy. All right. Jam-packed of awesomeness or overflowing and too crowded? All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story of the day is that Taika Waititi apparently is making sure that he doesn't go too mainstream. Hot off of the Thor Ragnarok trailer, the third most watched trailer of all time in 24 hours. The Last Jedi, it seems, there was no official discussion about the Last Jedi trailer views, but from what I can surmise and what from you guys have been telling me, it didn't come close, which is scary. But anyway, oh boy, if I were Lucasfilm, I'd be like, let's really work hard on this, the first full trailer for this movie, because that did not go great. I mean, I see videos online saying like headlines like, is it a bad trailer? Is it horrible? And you're like, yeah. But Thor Ragnarok was universally agreed to be one of the best trailers of all time. I feel it is, and its view count, reflects that. So Taika Waititi has capital, and we always talk about spending your capital in Hollywood. Well, Taika Waititi is apparently spending his capital on his dream project and maintaining his quirky credibility, and that is co-directing a movie about Michael Jackson's famous chimp, or infamous chimp to some, Bubbles, which is a Blacklist script that he's going to co-direct with a stop-motion director, Mark Gustafson, who worked on The Fantastic Mr. Fox, among other things. And they're going to do the movie Anomalisa style. You might recall that was a stop-motion film that came out. Charlie Kaufman. Everyone paid a lot of attention to the trailer. They're like, oh, that's cool and interesting. And also everybody was like, there's like, just like Team America World Police, they're like, there's puppet sex in this. This is crazy. Who's animating puppet sex? And then while everyone went to see Team America World Police, not many people went to see Anomalisa. It really never materialized as a film. It was a big trailer and like kind of some headlines, but never like really a movie, which is unfortunate because it was so forward thinking. But anyway, it inspired Taika Waititi to do a movie in that style, and that's what he and Gustafson are going to do with the story of Bubbles. Now, Blacklist scripts are tricky. The Blacklist, of course, is that famous list of scripts that are awesome but haven't been made, right? Like, basically the list is, can you believe no studio made this? And sometimes when the movie actually finally does get made, you're like, yeah, I can see why it wasn't made. Like, for instance, the recent horrible flop Morgan was a Blacklist script. So sometimes there's a reason that nobody wanted to make the movie. So we'll see if Bubbles is one of those situations. Taika Waititi is assuring everyone that he's a big, hardcore Michael Jackson fan, and so he's going to be respectful to Michael Jackson, and this is really, while it's melding fact and fantasy, this is really about Bubbles' journey in the human world as a chimp. So, I don't know. I think I question this decision. I think that Adam McKay is one of the people I've seen best spend capital recently. We'll see what Jordan Peele ultimately decides to do. His capital is still in his wallet. It's still in the bank. He hasn't spent it yet. He's thinking of spending it on Akira. We'll see. But Adam McKay spent his to get himself out of doing Will Ferrell comedies. Very lucrative. He certainly was very successful there. But he spent all that capital to go into prestige filmmaking with The Big Short, where he's like working with Brad Pitt all the time. And that was one of the best spending of capital I've ever seen. And so I think Taika Waititi could maybe have, I don't know, I think he could have put himself into maybe like an A-list, of directors. I don't know. I mean, maybe he could become like the new Wes Anderson or something, right? But I mean, that's not an incredibly lucrative, widespread but I guess he's going to have mainstream success with Thor Ragnarok. Maybe he wants to make it look like he didn't sell out, right? Although, I don't know if I would touch Michael Jackson. That's a very sensitive subject. And I think that it would be almost impossible to do this without somebody thinking you weren't respectful. So we'll see. It's quite the tightrope walk, right? I'd be like, why do you want to jump from Thor Ragnarok into like a potential PR nightmare, Taika Waititi? Twitter could kill you, or at least your career, or at least severely hobble it. So I don't know. I really like Taika Waititi. I'm really rooting for Thor Ragnarok. I think he seems like a fascinating filmmaker. Rent or stream The Hunt for the Wilder People. It's amazing. And it'll give you an idea of what kind of a filmmaker he is. But we'll see. The silver lining here is that if he can break CGI animation's death grip, okay, on the animation awards season, that would be kind of worth it in some ways. Taika Waititi could sacrifice himself or his mainstream success to get some stop motion films to actually win the darn thing. You know, I think there's only one winner so far, and that is the Wallace and Gromit film. All right, so anyway, let's go to today's viewer question from Sarah Burton. And Sarah Burton says, Grace, question. Could you explain how the Writers Guild works? Also, many criticism you've had for movies is that the screenplay and how Hollywood keeps hiring subpar writers for their movies, and now those subpar writers are asking for more money because we've been talking about the writer's strike. Good point, Sarah. It does seem to defy all reason. Is there not a scale for writers that if they have a highly viewed show, movie, episode, you get paid for it? Sorry for all the questions. Watch your show every day and enjoy every minute of it. Much love from Utah. Hello to Utah, Sarah. I hope you're having a great day there in the middle of America. The heartland, and I think this is a great question. All right, so the Writers Guild, they're of course right now orchestrating a strike, and that's, I think, the number one thing right now that you can see is important for the Writers Guild. The Writers Guild is fighting for its members to get higher, scale pay. There's a bottom line that you have to pay. That's like all unions work. You know, they keep the bosses in line, and they make sure that you're not underpaid, to a disrespectful degree. Like there's a minimum that the guild sets. And then it's up to your agent and manager to negotiate something higher than that. But the guild holds the bottom line. That's why you want to join a writers guild, right? So the Writers Guild is trying to raise that bottom line right now, and also to protect, that's another thing. A really lucrative job in Hollywood for screenwriters, the only one, in fact, writing for a television show, has gone away. So what the Writers Guild is doing is they're fighting to get that back, not only for their members, but also because now that people have less money and they're getting paid less money, they pay less dues, and that really hurts the Writers Guild in terms of their revenue, which they spend to provide stuff like health insurance to their members. That's, you can get health insurance through the Writers Guild. So, Lord knows the studio is not going to give it to you because you're not, I don't know if you're a TV writer if you get it, but I don't think so because you're not a year-round employee. So where are you going to get it? Anyone with health insurance these days who's not employed by a company full-time knows how horrible it is. So the Writers Guild will help you out with that. They're also, again, of course, to help negotiate the bottom line and just make sure you're treated well. Now, as far as writers not being good, that's a totally different situation. Hollywood's extremely political. Don't kid yourself. Just like any business, right? And so if a writer has like a lot of friends or like a really good agent, and just enough credits to their name, something you have to understand, like an underlying problem in Hollywood, is that a lot of the people who make the movies don't particularly care for the content they're putting out. They're like, yeah, Jurassic World was okay, but I much prefer the little small indie fare that was like awards contenders. I'm sad that I have to make the big blockbuster movies, but that's what pays the bills because that's what the masses want to see. They're just very disdainful of it. So they read the script and they're like, I don't know. This person wrote this movie and it did pretty well at the box office, so I guess they like it. And that's, I think, where the largest problem comes from in Hollywood, that they have the people who make the product. That's changing, I think, for sure, which is why you're seeing better quality writing. But in large part, there's still like a large faction left that think that what they make is crap, and so they don't really pay that much attention to the quality of it. So anyway, that's just a shame. Also, the politics of everybody wanting to play with it, etc., put their stamp on it to justify their job and their paycheck, etc. So that's where I think where the subpar writers come from. But here's the thing, the Writers Guild is everybody. So you can't punish all the writers because you think a few crappy writers, or actually a number of crappy writers, are managing to stay alive. There's just nothing you can do about it. And that's just the system. Sometimes the system works against you, but then sometimes it can turn around and work for you. You might be really upset that this one screenwriter gets a lot of work because he's really very good in a room, right? And everyone loves talking to him and he has an amazing agent. But maybe you get the same agent, or you start being good in a room, and then you start getting all the gigs. So then you're like, okay, that's the system. I'm glad it's finally working for me. Now, I also, one of the reasons I picked this, so that's what the Writers Guild does. It protects you, it negotiates for you overall, and it watches out for the bottom line of what you can be paid, and provides health insurance. And also gives awards every year and has it's like a social club too, which is also very important. So the thing is that a number of you have been asking me with the Writers Guild, well, why can't they just hire other writers, right? Why can't they hire writers from outside the U.S., right? Or why don't they have like the TV? Who cares? A lot of times it's the showrunners who write the episodes, so they'll be fine. If you write and you're at all successful, you have to join the Writers Guild. So anyone who writes television is a member of the Writers Guild. So that's one thing. It's really important because it's like being part of a political party. You can't survive on the outside. You need to be a member of the Writers Guild. You'll be seriously frowned upon if you're not. and you'll probably be blacklisted. Not the great blacklist where everybody says, why didn't someone make your movie? But I'm talking about the old school blacklist where people call up and say, don't hire that person. They're not a Writers Guild member. Now, even more so, like you might say, okay, well, why don't I hire a new writer, right? Isn't this a great opportunity for new writers? Don't be that writer. Don't ever cross a picket line in any situation, for any industry. Don't be that person. You might get in some situations, if they see you cross the picket line, you might get the crap beat out of you. But not a lot of people get the crap beat out of them in Hollywood. But if you cross the picket line in Hollywood, people will know. They'll make it their business to know, and you will never work again. And in some regards, you shouldn't, because you shouldn't cross a picket line. You're keeping these people from being able to make an appropriate living. I mean, I think so far, and I don't think that the other side of the negotiating table has been able to prove otherwise. I think that what the Writers Guild is asking for seems pretty fair, especially when they pointed out that there's $1 billion in profit, not just in revenue, in profit that Hollywood is getting like last year, and they're not getting paid enough. And there's $1 billion on the table there. So Hollywood's infamous for creative accounting, and so that's also why you need the Writers Guild, to take them to task. So that's what's going on with writing. And also, if you want to be a screenwriter, pay attention to the Writers Guild, and eventually someday you'll have to join. They'll also protect the copyright on your script. You can file a script with the Writers Guild to protect it, although good luck suing on that. That's really difficult to do, because often they change it just enough that you don't really have a story. And also, if you get a reputation for being litigious, also good luck to you getting a job. So it's a tough business. It's a really, really tough business. But the Writers Guild, all the guilds, if if you're an actor, you got to be in the Screen Actors Guild. If you're a writer, you got to be in the Writers Guild. If you're a director, you got to be in the Directors Guild. If you're a producer, you have to be in the Producers Guild to really become, if you want to take your career to the next level. That's what you got to do. You got to join your party. All right, so Sarah, I hope that answers your question. Have a lovely weekend. I hope everybody has a lovely weekend. Please write down below, I think, today's top 3 stories, Sarah's viewer question. If you're a member of the Writers Guild, by the way, please share down below what benefit you feel that gives you. And also, I know there are a couple of screenwriters who watch the show, so I'd be interested to hear your perspective, and I'm sure everybody else would, including Sarah, would as well. So write your thoughts down below. Let me know anything you'd like to see covered on Monday and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.